what I also like doing is shedding some light on the documentation that came originally with the car. So I always like to have this complete. First step is to have all the keys, like the reserve keys and everything. Those I have for that car. Additionally, I now have the full documentation, which entails not only, of course, the service booklet, but also the proper manual, as well as a separate manual for the radio. I also have a prospect here, which is also for the year 95. So my car was produced in September 94. This manual is actually of 1995, so model year 95, but it was printed in May 94. So my hope is, as I couldn't find one of 94, that this would still account also for the cars that were produced in 94. So I would like to look into some details right now, but first I would like to look into that catalog. I always find those quite interesting, especially if you're looking for the options and variations that were available and came with the car. Especially here I'm interested in the different sound setups and optional radios, because for that car you could get some options that are quite interesting from my point of view. So if we just skip through it, here we are. So there are actually the different radios and additional possibilities you could order for the car. So starting in the bottom, you have that 606, which is a very basic 2x 6 watt output radio. One step above, you have the 902, which has 4x 20 watts. Then on top you have the 905, which is the one that I have actually equipped. Interestingly, it only has 4x 15 watts, but you had the option to connect a separate CD charger in the trunk, and also an additional amplifier, which you can see here, actually sits in the center console below the radio. It's HA4140. You need an additional harness, and that amplifier produces 4x 40 watts. So that's something you can connect to the 905 only, not to the ones below. And also only to the 905 you can add the CD charger. So 4x 40 watts is really the highest output you could generate in these 960s. For the sedan, you also had the option to get additional loudspeakers in the rear, which I don't have, unfortunately. I'd really like to know how those ones would look like, or if this would be some kind of a bus option. So those were just the single DIN radios. There was also a double DIN radio, the SC801, and that actually produced 4x 25 watts. And also for that one you could get this additional amplifier and the CD charger. But also here 4x 40 watts is really the highest you can go on these cars. And I also really don't recommend to change the loudspeakers or anything, because the way they are designed and attached in the car is actually quite specific. So I would really try to keep my hands off of them. Maybe just change the ones on the dashboard, because they tend to break due to heat over the years. They just disintegrate. So finally, you have this separate radio specific manual, but also in every complete manual you have further details which would just refer, or which do in fact just refer to the top of the line radios, which is the SC801 as well as the CR905. So they give some additional details here, which I find quite funny, because actually this separate manual is not as detailed as the proper handbook,